Today's topic cyclones and the naming of cyclones. So, before we go ahead about the details of that cyclones and all that, let's look at how the cyclone is formed. Now, what happens is for example, if you consider this to be the ocean surface, you know that evaporation takes place. So, evaporation is water changing its form to a gaseous state and then it goes there, forms clouds, and in the clouds you will have condensation process and then again rain will fall. These clouds will move to different places, therefore rain will fall at different places. That's fine. But what happens during a cyclonic situation is let's say some warm air flows on the surface. When warm air flows, you remember one thing, cold air versus warm air. Very important. Cold air molecules are a little bit closer. Warm air molecules are far away from each other. So what happens is when warm air starts flowing, the molecules gap increases. Once the gap increases between the air molecules, they become lighter. When they become lighter, they will rise up. So molecules which are here will start going here. So that's how what happens. So when warm air flows on the surface, the air the air expands, warm air is lighter, therefore it moves up. When it moves up, what happens is, see, what do you mean by air pressure? More air pressure means pressure of the air is more. That means more molecules are coming inside. So pressure increases. Once the molecules are going away, the pressure decreases. So because of this upward movement, what happens is the air pressure decreases. The air pressure will decrease. So again I repeat, warm air or hot air expands, goes up, and in this region where the air has left, the pressure decreases and it forms an area called low pressure region. A low pressure region or an area is formed. So fundamentally on the ocean, what happens? You will have a low pressure area because air has ascended, hot air has ascended upward. Now when this is low pressure area, what about the surrounding areas? They will be high pressure. When there is high pressure, because cold air is still there, this high pressure air will start moving inside. Always movement of molecules will take place from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. Therefore, this air will start moving from high pressure areas to low pressure areas in a swift, very fast it moves. So what happens is, like this, a huge collection of air will happen and it tries to fill. And during this movement, what happens is air will start moving. And same concept, clouds will also start moving, air starts moving. So what happens is, in this formation, usually it goes in the anti-clockwise direction. Anti-clockwise. Why? Because the earth moves based on the earth movement. That effect is called Coriolis effect. The effect or the movement of the air in the anti-clockwise direction is because of the earth's rotation. That effect is called Coriolis effect. So air starts moving. So what happens is, when a lot of air starts moving in circular paths in anti-clockwise direction, all the high pressure region air will come into the low pressure region air and it forms like a whirlpool. It forms like a whirlpool. So lot of air movement, huge, and the thickness also starts increasing. So if you observe this very carefully, what happens is, this part, I hope all of you understood. Warm air movement, high pressure. That's fine. After this, what happens is when air starts moving in these regions, air starts moving like this, circular patterns. But at the center, this place where it starts, this is called the eye of the cyclone. Actually, what happens is in this eye, even if let's say I stand at the eye, nothing will happen to me. But if I stand here, I will fly away. But if I stand within the eye, nothing will happen to me. What happens is around the eye, there is a lot of high pressure area which is created. Lot of winds will move. So, eye and around it, the cyclone moves. Usually this thickness of this, if it's a big cyclone, the thickness will be around 15 kilometers. And this range will be close to 1000 kilometers. Therefore, literally covers countries and big regions all together at once. So that is a range at which a massive cyclone can take place. So this is how the cyclone is fundamentally formed. So low pressure region is created, air moves, anti-clockwise direction, Coriolis effect, eye is created, within the eye nothing will happen, but outside the eye high pressure region. So you all fly along with it. So that is a massive destruction because of it, and we all know that. But the point of today is, how is the cyclone formed? That's done. Let's move on to what is the naming. What are the agencies which is involved in cyclone formation and all that. Let's look at it. So IMD, this department describes cyclone as a low pressure area. It's a low pressure system that forms over warm waters. Now, high temperature anywhere means existence of a low pressure air, and low temperature means high pressure wind. Please remember this. This is what you have to understand. High temperature means low pressure. Low temperature means high pressure air. This is the scientific clause. So they might ask a science and technology question based out of this. That's about it. Next part. What is the mechanisms? As I told you, air warms over hotter regions, ascends means moving up. In depression or low pressure situation, air is rising and moves in an anti-clockwise direction. That is called the Coriolis effect. That's told to you. Now, where does this happen? So warm seas where the temperatures are high. For example, near Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, let's say that there is a lot of heat, a lot of evaporation takes place, low pressure regions are created, more chances of cyclone forming. So warm seas present ripe conditions for development and strengthening of cyclones. Now, a warm air rises, cools, water vapor condenses to form clouds, and this can lead to rains. This is the effect of cyclones. The effect is warm air rises, clouds are formed, rain will form. So as a cyclonic situation is forming, rains also will start forming. That is what happens in cyclones. Heavy rains wash off a lot of things. So weather systems formed over Bay of Bengal, especially in the peak of summer in May, are the strongest in northern Indian Ocean region. So this is one of the example that you can take of cyclonic systems. Next, moving on. What are the effects? It can lead to individual hazards such as storm surge, flooding, extreme winds, tornadoes and lightning, and of course loss of life and material damage. This I think even a small kid will answer. Now, who does a naming part? Please be careful with this. Regional Specialized Meteorological Centers, RMCS. Now, Tropical Cyclone Warning Centers, they will do it. Now, IMD names cyclones developed over North Indian Ocean as well as Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. IMD does it. Now, this is very important for your prelims. 12 other countries are also there in the region on the development of cyclones and storms. Now, what is those and what is that organization is important. This is the organization. Please put a star mark for this and learn this. WMO and SCAP, World Meteorological Organization, and United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. So this is the country which actually, this group together, they help in naming the different cyclones. So for example, look at this. Which are the countries which are in this group? Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Thailand. So prelims question ke liye chance. They decided to start naming cyclones in that region. After each country sent the suggestions, then this panel will decide the finalized list. So this is the most important point. Which countries, what is the organization? If you know this, that is sufficient for your prelims. Moving on. Now what is this? Recently the recent cyclone which is going on, which one? Orange alert has been given to these states. You have to know the different types of cyclones. One is tropical cyclones, which happens between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. And if it is going beyond the tropics, it is called extra tropical cyclones. So they develop in the regions between Capricorn and Cancer, mostly devastating storms, very important. Devastating effect will be there because of these tropical cyclones. Extra tropical, not so much. Beyond the areas of Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. That is what you have to understand. Next, naming examples. Please look at this. Oki. In Bangladesh, it means eye. That is how the name came. Cyclone Fani or Phoni was hood of the snake. Bangladesh. Vayu in Gujarat means wind. Similarly, Cyclone Tokte has been named by Myanmar after the reptile, which means it looks like a lizard. And Asani means in Sri Lanka it is called a rat. So based on the effect of the cyclone, they started naming all these things. So just remember these names. I think it should be sufficient.